Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Get By, Make It with Alice. And today we're going to talk about toxic environments. Say hi to Smiley. How y'all doing today? First things first, I just wanted to I wanted to give you some news. I was thinking about changing the live from Monday and doing the live on Sunday. So, what are your thoughts about that? Because I wanted to mention it first before I make the changes. Hey, Edward. Hello, hello. You're always here. Say hi to Smiley. We got three people on today. We're probably gonna get some more. Yeah, I'm thinking Sunday, 6 p.m. Same time. Let me know if yeah, I'm thinking about it, changing it to Sunday, 6 p.m. So it's not too late. Um, and all right, that's that out of the way. What other announcement do I have? Yes, I'm going to be teaching a course on AI. So there's more information in the community tab. I'm thinking of structuring a 6 weeks course to teach people about prompt engineering. So if you're interested, leave a comment on the community tab, though. I would love that. And I guess I'll go ahead and get started today. Hi, Dan. Oh, let me introduce Dan. Dan is working with me at Get By Make It with Alice. He's done a lot of great work for me. He not only is he doing some administrative stuff, but also editing, and he's learning about how YouTube works. And he's also going to be moderating for us when Stanley isn't moderating, when he can moderate. Stanley isn't going to do it every week. He's going to jump on when he can because it's his work day. Monday is good for me. Yeah, so Dan is cool, and he's also a sound engineer, so he does a lot of cool stuff with music. So definitely, you guys can chat if you have some music project. All right. Hey, Jake, excited for the stream today. Jake, how are you? I was just mentioning that I was thinking of moving the live from Monday to Sunday. So if I'm trying to get a vote here, consensus, because if y'all like that, I can change it to Sunday. I've been saying y'all a lot because it's like you all, that's a very New Yorker, but y'all, I lived in Indiana. So when I get excited, I always say y'all. And that just kind of stuck with me. And Jake, I'm going to introduce you to Dan. He works with me at Get By Make It with Alice, and he's also going to sub for Stanley and moderate for us. So, howdy, y'all. Dan is out of Wisconsin. Dan, I got that right, or Michigan. And that's close to Indiana, I think. Yes, I've been to Michigan when I lived in Illinois, which is near Indiana. Wow, it's been a few years. Midwest, Wisconsin. Yeah, so Midwest people. Dan's awesome. He's also a sound engineer. All right. So let me get started with today's live stream on toxic work environments. Now, how many of you have been in a toxic work environment? Raise your hand. Double for me and Smiley. I'm going to start doing some comedy on this live stream because I'm feeling extra festive and silly. Here's my globe. I got Smiley and the globe. I'm in the office. For those of you that think it's a little bit messy in the background, I'm going to get an office soon where there's no background noise. But, when we're starting on YouTube, we got to go step by step. So in the lives, I'm going to be a little bit more kind of funny, I guess, and more of my, I'm just gonna go be. I guess it's live. I'm not recording anything, and we're just gonna ask me questions if y'all want. And hi, Smiley. All right, I was luck to not to. Yeah, I know Midwest gets cold. So and work environments. If you have not been in a toxic work environment, thank God. That doesn't mean that you won't be. So now that you're on this live stream, you'll learn on how to manage a toxic work environment. Who else has been in a toxic work environment? Raise your hand. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right, guess I'll get started. I have. Okay. So you know how it's like. So let me go ahead and actually walk you through a little bit. Today's going to be more fluid conversation. I didn't prepare any notes. I just kind of prepared myself to come on here and just have a normal Q&A, because I think it's going to be a lot of personal narratives. So I want to make sure that we just have more of a discussion here. Everybody good on the sound? I mean, is everybody okay with my sound? Sound engineer check. Jake, Dan. Okay, cool. Thanks, Edward. Okay, so a toxic work environment, whether corporate or in your own business, it's pretty much the same, but it just looks different. So some of the things, the signs are there. It doesn't matter what structure of business, but the most important thing is like it's there. So I want to talk about that a little bit because uh, the first signs of a toxic work environment is basically when you go to work and you are like dreading it. Like you don't really know why. You may have a reason because maybe you're overworked, but sometimes, and a lot of the toxic work environments, there's a lot of psychology going on, psychological manipulation, psychological coercion. And that's a lot of like deceptive behavior. And then what ends up happening is like you get a lot of body aches, headaches, stomach aches because we carry everything in our gut. Um, and so you end up kind of like having an experience where you're not feeling the best, and it becomes chronic, and you sometimes can't pinpoint what it is. Like, it's a lot of work, you have an idea that it could be your boss, maybe it's several people, but like you're really starting to feel almost like nervous, like you're getting that weird, when somebody walks up to you and you don't anticipate them, like they walk up to you on the street and you're like you get scared, so you almost start becoming like scared around the people or the person. um, and psychological manipulation, especially at work, creates the most toxic work environments. I call them bad apples, and they're rotting. And a lot of it has to do with narcissism. And we're going to talk about that because there's like 6 different types of narcissistic disorder. It used to be that just like coerce, over and covert, but now there's like more of that. Um, Let me take a pause here. Do you guys have any questions before I continue? Or feedback in the audio, but we can't hear you. Static or feedback? What's going on? Static or feedback? Dan, is that the same for you? Dan, my sound engineer, all good? All right, Jake. Okay, everything's looking good on my end. So hold on, let me check this here. There's some static. I'm not noticing feedback. Okay, static. Why is there static? Let me see. Is this better? Maybe if I get closer to the mic. Let me see here. Check my sound. What about now? Is that better? Clipping in a way. Okay. I didn't have it on the mic setting. I put it now in the mics, not mics, yeah, Rode setting. It's it's not a constant sound. Okay. If it becomes a problem for today, guys, I'm gonna disconnect my mic and we're just gonna do um okay, cool. So yeah, okay, so toxic work environment. So um some of the common behaviors at work that quickly spirals into toxic, and I'm going to just name a few. I'm not going to go overly into details of like, oh, this is the narcissistic personality, this is a psychopath, this is a sociopath personality. I'm going to go more into like the subtle signs. So whether it's a boss, a colleague, employee, it's somebody who is like makes you doubt yourself. So these are common behaviors. You schedule a time to meet, and then they cancel, and then they say, "Oh, but you canceled the meeting," or they try to, another common behavior is like, um, getting other people to come on your side and try to like bully you or go against you. So, oh, well, I thought Jane told me that you might cancel the meeting, so I decided to cancel it. So instead of like they'll use other people, like they'll deflect responsibility, like they'll divert the attention to someone else rather than taking accountability and say, oh, I think we should cancel the meeting, or I'm sorry that I was under the assumption that we were supposed to cancel the meeting and I went ahead and did it anyway. One of the thing about deception and about toxic behaviors is like the first thing is like lack of accountability or respect, that if you point out a behavior or something that you didn't like, the person will never take accountability or responsibility. That's a very common sign of a toxic person that could quickly spiral into a toxic environment. They fail to take responsibility. They always blame someone else, or they pick a scapegoat, somebody else that they um, divert the attention. Oh, like, but Jane said we should cancel it, instead of saying like, I canceled it, or I do apologize. I wasn't thinking correctly, or I misspoke, or you know, like, you don't have to justify the behavior. You could just say, um, I apologize that this happened. One of the things that a billionaire taught me as a boss, whenever I made a mistake, I used to say sorry. He says, I don't want to hear sorry. I want to say, I made this mistake and this is how I fixed it. I made this mistake and this is how I will fix it so it doesn't happen in the future. I made this mistake and I learned. I made this mistake, and what I learned was that when you go into that mindset and into that practice of like, oh, I made this mistake, but I learned this, like, you will go propel so fast in your work environment, but you will also attract people that will commonly try to eliminate you if you are a good worker, an honest person, even if you have integrity. Like, these bad apples will purposely try to eliminate you because they find you as a threat to their deception. And especially if you're strong and organized, and it's going to be even more of a challenge, especially for narcissists. They go for the intelligent people, they go for the people who are not just weak, it's too easy. People think that narcissists go for like victim mindset or people who are weak. No, they actually go for people who are intelligent because it's a bigger catch. Okay, it's a bigger challenge. So that's a thing to remember here, guys. Is blame shifting another name for this behavior? Yeah, blame shifting. You shift the blame to someone else. But here's the thing: we all do it, right? So if we do it like impulsively or subconsciously because we're afraid of like getting ridicule or shamed, there's a difference between like, oh, I'm blaming Nancy, versus I'm blaming Nancy every time. So it's really about like the behavior, the repetitive behavior of deception, the repetitive behavior of manipulation, the repetitive behavior of victimhood, which is a problem. Does everybody know what victim mindset is, or victimhood? What does that mean? I'm going to take a moment here. Mic check, mic check. Let's take a moment if anybody here knows what victim mindset and abundant mindset is. What's the difference? Okay. So victim, I don't have too many of my notes on this today, but victim mindset is like, playing the victim. You want people to feel sorry for yourself. You appear hopeless and helpless because you want the attention so that you feel better. You intentionally are not taking accountability. You intentionally don't apologize because it's always somebody else's fault. The abundance mindset, I gave you one example where I apologize and say, oh, I learned this, or I apologize and this is what problem I solved, or this is what I learned. So the abundance is, think about it like spiral up, energy going up, expanding. Victim is like spiraling down. Crabs in a crab bucket, the crab is trying to get out, and then like they can't because they're victims. So they stay in the bucket of victims, and they all complain how they're in a bucket and they can't come out, even though they can come out if they helped each other get out of the bucket and But of course, a victim is the smartest person in the room and is the one that's always correct, and everybody's wrong and everybody's to blame while you're in the bucket or the gutter, as we say. So it's really important. And again, I also do that too, where because it's a learned behavior. If you have a parent who likes to act like a victim to get attention, you not have a parent like that. So I naturally do that. And but the important thing is to acknowledge that you've done that behavior and go, oh, okay, how do I shift myself? How do I shift into a um, better frame of mind. So this is really important. It's still there. All right, I'm disconnecting the mic, guys. That's it. We're done. How's the static now? Because I'm disconnecting the mic's not cooperating with me today. Is that all right? I'm just hoping it's a little better. Um, all right, Mike is not participating with us today. All right, let's keep going. So any questions up until now? So I can continue. All right. Okay. So the other thing too is to keep in mind about toxic work environments is a lot of bullying. And you see this in subtle like body language. If you're if you're doing a presentation, that person intentionally is interrupting, intentionally going up to your desk to ask questions, taking up your time, intentionally giving you work that is not your responsibility, intentionally distracting you, and even like coercing you to like do things you don't want to do. Like, for example, I remember working in this real estate company, and like there was a guy that came up to me every day asking me for lunch. And I said, I don't even go out for lunch and I'm not going to go out. And it was like every day. And I thought it was just like really disrespectful. I'm like, why are you asking me out every day? I've always been saying no. And he had this like repetitive crossing the boundaries, especially if you say no. And even if it's under the guise of being polite, it's actually the repetitive behavior of like still doing the behavior, even though you're saying no. He's done this to other people at work, and in 3 weeks, he was fired. Like he was just fired, even though he was really smart and he was good at what he does. But it's like there's a safe space. Also, when people get into your space, let's say there's like a healthy 2 feet at work that somebody should like be in front of you. Like 2 feet is good, three is even better. But you could do like a foot, especially like women to women, like guys to guys. But like with the opposite sex, you want like 2 feet. And like if somebody is like here all the time, and especially if they're taller and then they like looking down, like it's really disrespectful. You want to create a safe space, like physical space, but also like a mental space where you can like breathe and think, and like that's basically it. The other thing too is like these earrings. I'm gonna take them off. They're bothering me today. Another thing too that's important is um giving you like interruption. So like I have ADHD and I interrupt. It's okay. Like if you have ADHD, um, it's you need to be aware because like you interrupt people, and that's different because you're aware and you're conscious about it. But if you're like all the time interrupting and you're not letting the other person talk and you're not letting them express themselves, like that's also very toxic because now it's about them and not you. And so it's really important to like be aware of that. Another toxic example in the work environment of behaviors and patterns of behaviors are like if people divert their responsibility to you, and they do it very subtly, like, hey, you're really good at Excel spreadsheet. Do you think you could help me out? I mean, it seems nice. It's a nice ask. There's nothing weird about it. But if they're having you do all the Excel spreadsheets all the time, it's pretty bad. Versus a better approach would be like, hey, you're really good at Excel spreadsheets. Do you mind helping me out with these columns and rows and creating a nice pie chart? Can I take something off your plate? That's reciprocated. So if somebody's constantly asking for help, but they're not reciprocating it by saying, is there something else I can take off your plate, or how else can I help you? Then again, that's a very easy thing to spot for toxicity. Um, Yelling, that's a one. So if somebody's yelling at you, that's a big no-no. Or using derogatory comments, um, touching you inappropriately at work. Um, and it's like even if they're like if they're taller and they're putting their hand on your head or like squeezing your shoulder, guy or girls, it doesn't matter. If they're constantly commenting on how you look, whether it's positive or negative, where it's kind of like body shaming. Body shaming is a big one. If they say like, "Oh wow, I wish I was as skinny as you," and like, "Girl, you don't eat." Like if you say enough of that, that's like what value does it bring? Like instead of saying like, "Hey, what you have for dinner?" or "What's your diet like? You look great. You look skinny. What's your diet like? I'm trying to lose weight." It's a very different approach than saying like, "Oh, you don't eat." For guys, it's like it's the same thing. It's commenting about your shoes, your suits, like, "Hey, where do you shop?" Like Big and Tall or Hugo Boss, like kind of like making this weird facial expression or trying to ask all those questions like that are very intrusive unless you had like for example if you never had a conversation about diets and then you're fixated on the person's looks or diets like you that's really inappropriate but if you catch up every Monday and you talk about what you ate or what you did that weekend and it's kind of like normal and it's just a natural progression in the conversation, that's fine by me. It's just this consistent, like nagging, consistent nitpicking, I call it, that's inappropriate. Talking about a specific part of your body is inappropriate. So there's a lot that goes on that could spiral quickly into a toxic work environment. And I'll talk about blackmail next. Give me a second here. I got a comment. Jake, this is very helpful so far. Alice feels very validating for me. Woo woo. Um, what did I say? I lost my ADHD. You lose it. Catch it. Bring it back. Help me, guys. What was I saying? Damn, I lost it. Blackmail. Yes. See, this is what happens when I don't have notes. I go, oop, and I lose it. Blackmail. So this one is good. It's like, if you don't do this for me, I'm going to tell the boss. If you don't do this, I'm going to let everybody know. Or, hey, the secret is good with me, but you need to do this. It's like conditional. Blackmail is creating like the condition that is like, it fosters manipulative behavior and it makes you subservient to that person. Somebody taking advantage of your kindness and then flipping it like, "Oh, you're so kind. Thank you so much for helping me with this report, but you made all these mistakes and now you have to do it again or we will get in trouble." Kind of like putting the blame on you, even though it's not your fault and it's not even your work. Like you helped a colleague, but they say like, "Yeah, but if you don't do it again, we will get in trouble." Or it's like these like little subtle tactics and language around like it's a psychological manipulation. Or when you're asking another one, this one drives me up the wall. Like at work, if you this is a really good one too. If you ask a direct question like, what items should go into this report, and they look at you like you're stupid, and you ask again and you ask another way and they're still like, "Huh?" So like they're making you do a lot of work and you're cognitively exhausted, but you asked a very simple question. So if somebody cannot respond to you, they're using deception, or they maybe don't, there's a language barrier, culture barrier. So maybe there's a cognitive behavior, like a learning or developmental delay or something, which is fine. But if that person is not like, if they're just looking at you, or if it's almost like you sense they're holding back information. If you feel like there's like this thick wall between you guys and you ask a question to get closer and understand, and they keep like keeping a distance, it's almost like this invisible wall. Like something's up. I mean, okay, not everybody has advanced social skills. Not everybody studies communications. Not everybody communicates on a regular basis like me. But like on a decent level, if I ask you what's your favorite color or what did you like about today's walk by the beach, I think any decent person would say my favorite color is blue. And today I enjoyed our conversation, or I enjoyed looking at the seashells. Like, you don't have to give a whole report, but you can give a comment or two, a sentence. You don't have to. I'm not asking you to be all talkative. I talk a lot, but like, or if you say something and they don't respond with a question, that's weird. It's not building rapport. And that's important, because when you ask, the response, ask, response, response, ask, response, ask, and that actually brings up like rapport. That brings up that builds trust. So that's another thing that's a telltale sign of like toxicity at work, is like when you're asking all the questions and they're not responding to any of your questions, or diverting the attention to something else. Like if you ask them like what heading should go on the report, they go, "What'd you do this weekend?" That drives me crazy when people do that. I'm like, whoa, I mean, squirrel, ADHD, squirrel, I'm distracted. That's one thing versus, what'd you say again? I don't know what you're saying. And like, it's really simple. Like what I'm asking, like what should go into this report? Like what headers should go in here? How many pages is the report? What's the main point here? What are the themes we should cover? And you're like, what'd you do this weekend? Or like, let's get back. Or if there's like buying time is another one. Buying time, like, yeah, I'm not sure right now. I'll get back to you. And they never get back to you. And sometimes we all forget. I get that. Like, let's give ourselves some grace. But other times it's like, well, you've delayed 2 months. So, like, on everything, you delay. So, is it that you don't want to take responsibility? Is it because you don't know? Are you afraid to being wrong? Like, what is it? And if you ask questions and they shut you down on multiple levels, like, you got to pay attention to that. Jake, Alice, it sounds like you have seen some things. This is so useful. I mean, I got stories, guys. I can go on and on and on. I just realized how lucky I am with the workplaces I had for now. Yeah, Edward. Where do you work, Edward? What kind of work environment are you in? I'm curious. And then, Jake, same thing for you. What kind of work environment have you experienced where there was all that toxicity? Office job. Okay. Any specific industry, research and development? My brother was in R&D, and that's like a very good place to be, because he was kind of his own person. Or there was a very small team and they were kind of doing their own thing. So there wasn't a lot of like office, like physical off. They did a lot of remote work, but like everybody kind of did their own thing. So it wasn't, he actually had a great time. I have been a part of the best and the worst. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Um, both academic settings at a university. Yeah, academia, let me tell you, there's some passive aggressive behavior, um, and superiority complex, superiority complex. Wow, I couldn't say that word. Or the God complex, where people think like they're smarter than you. Well, the whole point why we're paying you to be a professor is to teach us, and like you're supposed to learn from us as much as we learn from you. So education is not insular or siloed. Like, it's expansive and it's based on public discourse, and like that's how you acquire knowledge and wisdom, through experience and learning. And like, you don't own all the information. Like, the idea is not yours. The interpretation of the idea is yours, and it could be something that you can put in intellectual property. You could protect with intellectual property. So that's a big one. And the worst thing is when you disagree with the professor, his ego's through the roof, and he's just like, yeah, you're going to get a D for that. I got a bad grade for disagreeing with the professor. Jake, oof, there's so many know-it-alls in academia. Yeah, yeah, rough. I was in grad school 2017. Yeah, what sucked was I was in the MBA classes, and a lot of them, I was 30 when I went to get my MBA, MPA, Master of Public Administration. And some of these people were really good with Excel spreadsheets and like great on paper, but they never had street skills, like street smarts, and they weren't really like, what's the word I'm looking for? Street smart, and they didn't have like real work experience, and like theory is great, but like they couldn't think fast on their feet. And it was really tough because like they were like the students try to be the smartest in the room, and the egos just was through the roof. Wow, the level of competition. Um, so many and people that are super set in their ways and won't hear otherwise. Yeah, that happens everywhere, guys. I think like it really does happen everywhere. Uh I think what else we got today? What else we got? I'm gonna take a look at my notes. I actually want to cover something that's interesting about narcissism. I said I wasn't gonna go into it, but I will, and I'm gonna look up something. So narcissism, we always think it's like somebody who's charismatic, grandiose personality, someone like Trump, for example, Elon Musk. But it's not always so flamboyant or obvious. And there's a couple of differences, and I'm going to pull up a little picture here, and I'm going to tell you the differences between overt and covert narcissism, because this one I'm going to tell you guys is very important to understand because I spent some time studying it. So, overt and covert. An overt narcissist, I'm going to read this from my phone. Having a sense of self importance. We get enough of that. We all know who those people are. Exaggerating their abilities, talents, and accomplishments. Craving admiration. We all know. Believing that the world owes them something. Exploiting others to get what they want. Lacking empathy towards others. Yeah, so that's an overt narcissist. Those are easy to spot. The harder ones are covert. Those are hard. Passive self-importance. So they're not actively trying to seek self-importance. They're doing it subtly, passively, and that's dangerous because you're like, you can't spot it right away. Blaming and shaming, blaming someone else, shaming. Creating confusion, manipulation. Remember how I told you about the confusion? Like you're asking a question and they purposely like don't give you a response or divert the question or respond with a question and then they don't really follow up. Like there's a lot of that going on. Procrastination and disregard. Yeah, like asking you to do their work is a classic example. Emotionally neglectful. Like when you tell them like you're really sad or you don't feel too well, they're like, oh, okay, you know, or like get over it type of thing, or not responding at all. Normal person would be like, I'm sorry to hear that, at the least. Giving with a goal. So yeah, they give you, but they have a goal. Like they only provide with constraints. So like love is conditional. Like help is conditional. I hate that, by the way. Like it's conditional. Yeah. Like I'll only help you. Like I scratch your back if you scratch my back. Why not scratch your back and see what happens? If that person won't scratch your back, well, somebody else will. I mean, the universe just expands. You know, you be in the service of others, and you will expand. I'm sorry, guys. I got eczema on my face, and it's itchy. Ow! I'm supposed to stop itching it. The way I remember it, overt narcissists thrive on I can't read today or spell aggrandizing themselves. Covert narcissists thrive on sympathy. Both are very self-centered. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more, right? Examples. I just gave you a few. It never should be conditional. Like here's the thing. We all are selfish beings in a way. We need to have our needs met, want and needs met, like sleep, food, their connection. Like we have certain we it's okay to be selfish. Like sometimes you have to be, for example, when you're starting a new project, you have to be selfish and prioritize your project over spending time with another person. But like that selfishness is like it's like a phase, right? It's like, hey, honey, for the next 3 months, I'm going to be selfish because I need to launch this project. Versus, it's just about me and my project always. Like you come second, you know. So it's okay to be selfish. It's just like, it's okay to be selfless. On the flip side, you can't always be on. I don't believe that You can be totally unconditional, because if everybody was good, then it's great. But if like you're unconditional to the wrong person, they could really take advantage of you. So you have to have conditions. You have to have boundaries. Um, and you have to protect your heart. So that's definitely something to look out for. Um, so we're adults. We got to be responsible. Okay, so I wanted to read that: covert and overt narcissism. Let's see if I can come up with any other examples. I'm looking on Pinterest. Um, I love Pinterest because like they give you these charts and stuff. Let me see if I could come up with another. Oh, let me actually define this for you guys. Okay, more examples and then I'll define the two. Over narcissism uses anger or withdrawal to get their way, explodes when confronted, my way or the highway type of attitude, uses bullying behavior. Covert uses guilt or manipulation to get their way, gaslighting, um, saying you've really hurt me, uses victim behavior, all of that. So overt behavior refers to behaviors and actions that can be observed and measured. So examples: speaking, walking, nodding, and gesturing are a few examples of overt behavior. What does that have to do with narcissism? Uh, Guys, I lost myself for a minute. I lost the notes that I wanted to share. But anyway, let's keep going. Another thing too about, let's talk about specifically bosses in the toxic environment. So um making you believe that you're going to get a promotion and not. Like if you do a better job, you'll get a promotion. Like the promotion is conditional rather than based on merit. So if you improve, if you rather than, wow, you're doing really well. Let's talk about your performance review so we can position you for a raise, or making you believe that they're going to give you a raise without like wanting to give you a raise. And they know all along they can't give you a raise. So they continuously like um, make you feel hopeful, because they also don't want to lose you and they never have an intention of increasing your pay. So it's a lot of this like behavior which sucks, and I hate this type of behavior. um and it's really important to, like, I think as a manager or a boss, to communicate like these are my intentions, create an impression of increase, like we're growing, we're expanding. Now it's a little like it's not manipulation, but you may not have expanded yet, but the intention is there to expand, to grow. So it's all about like setting the intention and setting the pace, and being open and honest. And there's a lot of bullying that happens at work. My brother experienced this with one of his bosses, where like she'd be on the clock watching him, and like 6 o'clock and he's about to log off, and she would be like, hey, I need you to do this. Or it's like on the dot, like, hey, are you checked in? Like it's just this like micromanagement that's really bad. That's micromanagement is if the person is not letting you do the work in a way that's creates agency within yourself. Like if you have self-efficacy and agency, you'll deliver the work. And though you've delivered the results, they still doubt your abilities, and they have to micromanage like every communication and like every checkpoint of like, oh, okay, what's the next step you're going to do? Did you do this? Did you do this? When are you going to submit it? You've told them when you're going to submit it. It's almost that time. You should submit. Like, are you okay? Do you need anything? It's like helicopter parents, the ones that like helicopter over you and watch you, like it kills creativity. It kills confidence. It's so important to have that space just to do your own thing. Um, and I that's kind of where we're at with that. I'm going to pause here. Any questions? Any questions now? Any questions now? Oh, you know what? Guys, I think I never. Do you hear me now? You know what? I don't think I muted my phone up. That's why there was an echo. Okay, I think it should be okay now. Okay. Is there that echo? Okay, cool. All right, so I just turned the mic back in, but what I did was, because sometimes if I can't read your comments, I see myself here and I could read the comments. Okay, cool. Not just an echo, but like a feedback or something. Okay, so let's try that. Questions. No more clipping. I gotta have a checklist for this and like make sure that I don't like um that I don't miss anything. All right. No more clipping. Cool. What else can I think of? Does anybody want to share some of their toxic experiences? Let me actually take a moment here because I'm curious. Anybody want to share about their toxic work environment? Going once, going twice. All right, I'll continue. I'm going to cover one more point, and next week we'll still do 6 o'clock. I have a couple of topics that I'm thinking about covering. You can kind of tell me what you think is most exciting. So last point, as I don't have it, Edward, that's good. Good for you. Actually, FYI, there's still a little clipping. Forget it. That's it. Mic is off today, guys. Sorry. Um, Last thing. So I gave all these examples about toxic work environments, and now maybe I'll take a couple of minutes and how to protect yourself. Okay. What I tell everybody, the most important thing you can do is document, 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 document. Literally become a detective, because I cannot tell you how many times it had saved me. And also, you could use those documents for court cases or blackmailing or leverage. So when I say document, take pictures of screenshots. Yes, record your conversations. If you feel threatened, if you feel not safe, absolutely go record your conversations. Save emails. Write, be a cop, like write like 906, and also document your emotions. Usually after 3 months, you start seeing patterns of behavior. So if after 3 months you're like, wow, I'm feeling really stressed out every Monday, and like you have to document to save yourself, to protect yourself, because a lot of the times, like if you're in a position, if somebody wants to fire you, they'll give you some bullshit excuse like, oh, you missed a meeting. I got fired one time because my boss said, you missed a meeting. I was an executive assistant, and he said, you missed a meeting on Monday. And I said, we never schedule meetings on Monday. So he kind of was a little bit spaced out, because if he said Tuesday, I would have believed him, maybe, because like we all can make mistakes. But like, I think like what's really important here is to like document, because like you never know when it's going to be like helpful. And I think you also want to share notes with your boss. You want to um, like protect yourself, and then you also want to um, report that to HR, because maybe like somebody else has experienced this, and you want to start building a case. And I think it's really important, because that's one way that you can like protect yourself. So I think it's like absolutely something that you have to do. Start talking to HR about it. If you uh, or get a mentor or a therapist or a coach to discuss, because you don't want to make decisions when you're in the valley, and you want to only make a decision that you feel okay with, not a decision where you're uncomfortable because you start questioning your decision. So um don't get, it's really easy to get emotional, but like the best decisions are made when you're like calm and collected about them, when you're standing on the summit and not in the valley. So keep that in mind. And information is power. So when you're documenting, along with that, try to approach that person and play a little bit stupid, like, huh, what did you mean by that? Or I'm trying to understand. Like, instead of attacking them because they're going to attack you, just be like, I'm really trying to understand what you said. Like, what did you mean by that? And like, double check and like, just always document and always ask questions, because we all have judgments. We all have bad days. And sometimes we maybe didn't think clearly. Maybe we're projecting our own traumas. Maybe they're also having a trauma. And so like, we want to always give people a benefit of doubt. Um, and that's the biggest takeaway of how to deal with that. Always confront the person, or have somebody confront them, like maybe an HR person, or when you confront them, try to have a third party there, like have another person as a witness. That has saved me a lot, because if it's just you and the abuser or the toxic person, like who's gonna believe who? So it's really important. The note taking is the biggest takeaway, and I've used that in court cases as evidence. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope this was really helpful. I hope you don't have to ever go through it again. And if for those of you that haven't, let this session be informational so that you can better prepare yourself if you find yourself in this situation. And for next week, I have a couple of topics, and you could tell me what you think I should talk about. I have addiction, expectations in relationships, how to create a life of self-efficacy, how to be sustainable on your own, flow and alignment, how to work in flow and alignment, and how to be alignment with your values, aging, how to approach that, and burnout. So, which of these topics do you think I should talk about next? What do you think? Want me to repeat myself? I could say it again. I think burnout is a big one, because the thing is like we don't always flow and alignment. Yeah, flow and alignment is a big one, and burnout, because burnout is not something that you can spot easily, and it takes a long time to recover from it. So it's like, if I had only known what are the signs, I would have been more aware. I'll repeat that again, Jake. So addiction, addictive behavior, expectation, why sometimes expectations kills relationships, self-efficacy, or how to develop skills on your own, how to be more self-sufficient, flow and alignment, being in flow in life, aligning your values with your work, flow, alignment, aging, how to approach that, and burnout, like what it feels like to just check out because from too much stress and work. Um, yeah, burnout, flow and alignment, and addiction. Yeah, and addiction is really weird, guys, because it could be addiction to work, it could be addiction to sex, addiction to chocolate, addiction to water. I actually was listening to a podcast about a woman being addicted to water and dying from it. So yeah, there's a couple of those. So addiction, oh, and how to overcome addiction and how addiction works and all that. We could talk about it. Yeah. Yep. All right. All of these sound amazing. I think addiction sounds like the most interesting to me right now. Yeah, absolutely. Um, cool. Thanks, guys, today. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Any final questions, comments? Please leave comments. Share these videos with your friends. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers more. I'm trying to get to 100 people watching this stream so I can continue going. Your support means a lot to me. I'm always interested in your feedback. So I appreciate you. Let's thank Dan for moderating today. What does a moderator do? Well, when you all don't have ask questions, the moderator steps in and asks a question. Especially if we have a big community and I cannot get through all the questions and answers, the moderator kind of helps answer some of these questions, especially if we have like thousands of people online. Hi, Adi. So that's important. So let's thank Dan. Thanks, Dan. And we'll see him next week. And I will put up an announcement on Sunday or Monday about what topics we're going to cover. All right. Sure thing. Sure thing. Thanks, everyone. And as always, do the best that you can every day.